Hello and welcome back from Carly at the Herbothecary. It's far too bright for 5:45 in the morning, and I don't actually have to be up for another 2 hours-ish. But no matter what I've tried, I can't get back to sleep. I'm not sleeping very well at the moment. Many of you know it's been a horrible year. Between the issues with, the husband and, sharing the kids and stuff. And then obviously my brother passing August last year. I've needed my garden more than ever, but I haven't been sleeping. But with the kids not being here all the time and going and picking and helping themselves, the garden, although it's my peaceful place and I need it, I even the process of doing that and starting all the plants and everything that I know that they love to eat, that I'm starting, knowing that they're not going to be here constantly to pick and help themselves, has made it very hard to get to get up and go, to get out there and actually go, get stuck in. That's possibly the main reason why there are so many more in the Herbothecary videos recently. Doing the videos, actually setting things up as well, gives me the inclination, a little more of a kick up the butt to actually get out and do it. And I know I do need to either way. Obviously, I don't just keep all the food for here. I do send it back when they're staying at Daddy's. And I do, well, they eat green. Unfortunately, not very big meat eaters in my house. So the more I can grow, the better. So as I said, it's almost 6 a.m. now. I am going to finish my coffee. I've got an appointment at 9:45. So I've got an hour or so before I need to start getting ready. So I'm gonna have a little putt around. There's some jobs that I've been putting off, but I really need to get done today. So we'll get into those now. Obviously, I know this is very different to my normal content. Not crocheting that much. I've started up the lessons again. Working on a couple of personal projects, but summer isn't exactly the time for woolen weather, or isn't woolen weather. So far as the foraging, loads of you who've been on my actual walks know that I used to start them from my brother's and go around the little woods near there. See, I haven't been able to bring myself back to, or bring myself to go. I can't even do that journey. So yeah, I am currently scouting a new site for the foraging courses, as I've had loads of people message asking when's it going to start up again. To be confirmed. I will work it out, but definitely gonna get on those courses very, very soon. So it is time for me to get my butt out of bed and go see what jobs need doing today. It is currently drizzling, so I'm living in denial, living in blind hope that that. So if you do enjoy these videos, I would appreciate some comments, some feedback. I don't mind friendly criticism or friendly advice. You know, just a heads up, if obviously this is the beginning of the season, there isn't a lot growing outside, but there is a lot growing inside. And we'll go through that: seed sowing, transplanting, checking if anything actually has a chance of coming back to life. But we'll be covering lots of that over the next few months. All right, I'll see you in the front room because I know there's one job I have to get started on straight away. Just wanted to show you quickly, this is my garden last night when I came home from my daughter's birthday celebration. It's sleep very, very, very bright in the evenings, but this is my favorite place to be for the next 6 months or so. I would much rather be sat outside in my beautiful garden than sat indoors feeling sorry for myself, which is why I am spending so much time trying to get it ready again. That's not to say it isn't a beautiful, peaceful place during the day. That is absolutely gorgeous as well, with the fountains going. And those sweet peas, let's see. And my little ornaments and stuff all make me very, very happy. So my first job of the day, because I've been putting this off so much, these are the little Marmont Tom seedlings. There's actually some cherry ones in the front, a couple of other varieties, and some peppers and stuff. I was living in hope because the other seedlings were way behind the Marmont tomatoes, was that I could fertilize them enough in these little modules before I planted them up. However, because some of them are so much younger than the others, you do actually risk burning the roots by over fertilizing tiny seedlings like this. So I mean, I've even got some of those serrano peppers coming up. I thought they were dead. So drastically, I've decided I am going to pot them up, but only them. So this is going to require a little DIY. Now, I had mentioned that I'd properly overseeded these little modules, as I wasn't entirely sure on their viability, as they were quite old. Also picked up these black trays from Poundland. They're right next to the green module cells. However, the green module cells are too big to fit in them. I also find that they're really, really flimsy, especially if you try separate them, because they've stapled them together and it just rips through the plastic. So I actually keep all three together. It gives it more sturdiness and I don't end up ripping them. Yes, it's fine. I could have got 3 for the pound and now I'm only getting 1. However, I do find if I keep them like this, they last a lot longer and I can reuse them. But nope, the green trays are just a tiny bit too long to fit in the trays that come with them. So I'm actually going to cut out this entire row of the Marmont ones. Now it is very, very flimsy, so you have to be careful because these things break so easily. These trays I won't even stock up when they're on sale because the weather change just makes them even more flimsy. So those are our little cherry toms. And then we'll cut out our Marmont from the other side. And then the cherry toms, their first true leaves are just showing through, but they're not big enough to pot on yet. So I'll then pop them and these serrano and habanero chilies back in this tray. They can go back under the light and I can pot these little babies on. I'm not going much huger with the containers, much bigger rather with the containers. Mostly these are a tiny bit wider, but it's the depth that you really want when you're potting on your tomatoes. So I've gone for much deeper cells with these. Tomato seedlings are a lot more robust than you would think, but there are 5 in 2 of these modules, and that is far too much. They will be competing for nutrients, for space. Their roots do grow quite columnar, so they don't really get that wrapped around each other as long as you separate them at this point. And I'm actually holding those true leaves here, because if a leaf breaks, I can grow another one. But if the stem breaks, then it's going in the bin. So I did not water these before I potted them up, as I wanted the soil to be quite dusty and just kind of fall off rather than cake around the roots. So I'm just gently teasing these apart. And although these ones aren't actually leggy at all, it is good practice to bury at least half of the stem of your tomato, as the little hairs growing up the stem will make more roots. Now I generally just have a look at the stem, see where that root structure is, or where those little hairs are, and bury it just a little bit below the top ones, just in case, because if you do bury them too deep, you can get some rotting on the stem. I just haven't found it happen that often with tomatoes. I did run out of the little black parts, but I had some of these root trainer system things, and they give me the depth that I need in order to bury the tomato a bit deeper. So of the 19 that were growing, we've got 16 Marmon tomato plants that currently appear to be quite viable. So I'm going to give them a good water in and then pop them under the lights and hope for the best. So one thing I do stock up on, and my next job to do, is the cocoa peat bricks. They make around 10 liters of cocoa coir, and I mix one in to every 40-liter bag that I get. It helps the compost go further, and I just remember to give my plants a feed when necessary, but it does keep the cost down. I do use boiling hot water to rehydrate them. As I said, I buy them in bulk, so they could have been sat there for a year. So off out to the greenhouse, and I can't help but check on the dragon fruit alley. Not Kevin, Epic Gardening. And these are doing surprisingly well. This was just from a dragon fruit I picked up at the market. There's a little bit of damage, but they are making little babies, and I believe that you can actually snip those little babies off and make new dragon fruit from them. I don't know. Now, this says it's a dahlia, but it's not looking like a dahlia to me, so that needs some care today. And I do need to separate out those aloes because they're overcrowded. I probably killed the lime quat. It's not looking very happy at all. And my goji seems to have some infestation. The lemon has dropped so many leaves since potting it up, but it's got 3 beautiful flowers on it. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with that one yet. I'm just going to leave it and hope for the best. That parsley is coming up now, and we've got some tiny little dark opal basil, but I've always had issue growing that past this stage. One of the bottles I use for cuttings. Those cherry trees aren't showing any signs of life, and I did exactly the same with them as I did with the other billion fruit trees I have. Out in the greenhouse, and it looks like something other than my carrots is trying to sprout, but the peas are finally coming up, and I did fake it and just shove that little trellis up. We do have the salad leaves, the brassicas and stuff in the back. I'm not sure if they're just not getting enough sun or if I need some more airflow in here. But I also gave in and brought the flower starts out because I did need the space under the lights. And this is the house plant that I was killing inside. I brought these two, actually both of these, out to the greenhouse, and I've been misting them regularly, and they do look like they're alive. But as you can see, this back garden, well, it needs a lot of TLC, and I've left those dandelions all to do their thing. I leave them be for the insects and the pollinators. For now, as there's very little else flowering. However, I will dig those up in May before I mow and reseed, as I do actually use them for their medicinal purposes. At morning time is time to check that the cuttings have got sufficient clean water. No surprise that that chocolate mint is rooted really, really well. The ginger's looking quite good as well. And this is that house plant from the greenhouse, and that's rooted, so I'm going to pot that up and hopefully get a fresh new plant that doesn't look like it's completely dead. And this is the store-bought lemongrass. Now, it does have roots, but it has no upper top growth. In fact, it looks like it's completely dried out. I might put these on. I might cut the tops off a couple, see if that helps. Maybe get some fresh growth. We'll see. I don't know with them. The rain stopped for a minute, so I had a quick look out in the garden. Now, this bed that I finally cut those tomatoes back from, I was supposed to hoe it and get rid of the seeds or the weeds and everything. However, I didn't get round to it, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there's an actual sea of peas that have come up. I had planted them all in a row so I could weed in front of them. But that water butt next to it, when it overflows, it just pours straight into this bed, and it looks like they've been washed around everywhere. So I'm just going to have to try and, oh, hello, little snail. I'm going to have to try and get in there and just maneuver some of the weeds out without disturbing as many of those pea seeds as possible. Yes, there is a sea of them. Yes, I may have started too many, but again, they were old seeds. They'd only been soaked for a few hours, so I overseeded. You know, if in doubt, chuck them all out. And looks like I'm going to have a lot of peas now, but that's absolutely fine. I have people who will eat my peas. It's just going to be interesting working out a way to tie them back into that trellising behind. I've got one of the pansies or violet tricholers trying to come back to life there. But here I have my 5 blueberry bushes, and they've done varyingly well over the last few years. However, it has been a while since I've given them a more acidic compost. So I have a bag of ericaceous compost. I'm going to pop that on and give them a top dressing today. It's just starting to drizzle again, and I was about to run inside when I noticed tiny little specks of green in this new bed. The Meti or the fenugreek is doing fine, so are those Lola Rossa lettuces and the feverfew, but it looks like some of the salad leaves are actually starting to sprout, but nothing else in there, especially not the broccoli, and they do eat a lot of broccoli, so I might actually have to sow some seeds indoors for that broccoli in a minute. Over in the 6x2 beds, we've got the one that I'd already pre-prepped, and this one I did actually clear those giant leaves out just because I wanted to see the sun, how it actually fell on this bed, because I'm still thinking about moving the trike further forwards. I will de-weed that one shortly. In the bed that I did redress and prep, the peas have not popped up, but I decided to just chuck those bean seedlings in because they were in the way and they were looking good. And this is actually day 5 of them being in there. Day 6. But they're looking great, so we'll leave them to it. It sounds so lovely out here. I thought I'd take a sneaky minute to finish my coffee outside next to the pond. This is normally my favorite spot, except for when I see the morning glory trying to pop through. As in the morning, when you sit there with your coffee, you've got the little pond, the bigger pond, the water features. You can see the strawberries coming out. There's nothing nicer than a fresh strawberry first thing in the morning. This really is just such a truly glorious place for me, and does help me clear my head in the morning. As I said, I don't sleep very well, so I'm normally fighting through what I dreamt. That sweet pea plant definitely needs a tidy up. And look at the flowers on my cherry. Could you imagine if every single one of them turned into cherries? I'm going to have to get scaffolding for this cherry tree, I think. And then hiding under here, under the rosemaries and the bluebells and the white bells, my little dude who sits with me while I'm meditating out in the garden. This is my little space that I like to sit, because the moon you can see just above the house in the evening, and it's absolutely glorious. So one more quick look around, and none of those flowers seem to have sprouted yet, but for some reason that section of my garden will not grow anything that I have chosen to plant. It grows lots of things, just nothing that I have actually chosen to put in there. And all of my blossom trees, and I'd normally, my bird feeder. So my neighbor gave me this bird feeder, and it is absolutely beautiful. Now, I originally wanted a big feeder because we had a family of robins nesting closely. However, the pigeons keep coming, and I'd prefer squirrels. I would like squirrels, not prefer squirrels. So we're going to top that up in a second with some new food. Poundland is absolutely great for that, by the way, or One Below it is here. They're £1.25 a bag. Now, in the rest of the garden, the one lavender on the left of the door as you go in, that one has come back to life. But the one on the other side, nope, I have officially killed that. The grapes that I potted up are looking great. And my wisteria looks like it's not going to flower this year, because although it does have leaves on it, it doesn't have any of the fluffy nodules, and I believe that's where the flowers come from. I might be wrong. I was just about to go in, and the new neighborhood menace, who's decided that my beds are his litter tray, is sneakily walking past. But it's raining again, so we're back inside, and it says it's a dahlia. It does look a little more like a valerian to me. I can't be entirely sure, but I am going to clean it up and snip out the top because it's so leggy. But I brought all my bulbs in late into the conservatory last year. It was, a final thought while I was here trying to sort some stuff out. So I don't want to disturb it too much. So I'm literally just going to cut out the grasses and the weeds rather than trying to pull them up, because I don't want to damage him just in case. If it is valerian, I absolutely love valerian. If it's dahlia, then great, because I don't currently have any started. So I'm just going to give him a clean up. And then I'm going to cut off a good few inches from the top. Don't know if you can take cuttings from dahlias this way. I thought it was all about splitting the rhizomes. However, we'll give it a go. You never know. I'll just take off the bottom leaves and then snip it below the node where the bottom leaves were attached. And then I'll pop that in water and we'll see what happens. I've got the space, why not? It does look like a nice healthy shoot, so if it is possible to do it this way, I can't see why it wouldn't. I'm then just going to prop up this long leggy bit, give it a down good water and some seaweed fertilizer. And fingers crossed, we'll see. If it is a dahlia, it should bush out. If it isn't a dahlia and it is in fact a valerian, then I've just taken the potential flower head off. But I have hundreds of valerian in my garden, so I can cope with that. Next, I want to sow those broccoli seeds. I have so many packets. These are of varying ages, but not one of them is new. And unfortunately, they're going to have to go in these little trays because I am running out of space with all my brother's stuff to actually have places to start seeds indoors. There is no such thing as a windowsill in this house. It is just a planting place. So I have got this really, really humusy. It's like got lots of fibers in it, compost. And I can't find my garden sieve. So I'm just going to break it up as much as I can. Broccoli seeds are slightly larger than lettuce seeds, but not as rambunctious as a pea or a bean. So you do want it kind of fine. You don't want too many big things getting in the way of the seed pushing through. However, again, on the other side, I have found that a little resistance sometimes provides a much stronger seedling. However, pushing it down too far, compaction, has the complete opposite effect. So firming it down slightly, I find, is like putting something easily maneuverable in front of the door. However, compacting it down completely is actually shutting and locking the door so they can't get past it. And I am going to overseed. I will be thinning down and I will be doing multiple sowings as I do have the space this year and I would like to have as much to preserve as possible. So I'm going possibly 3, 4, maybe even 5 seeds in each of these modules. It's worth the risk. I am just going to give them a little dusting over, as this is quite thick, and then a slight prick down, not a huge firming. When I water them in a second, that will bring the soil level down, moisten the seed, and make for good contact between the seed, the soil, and the moisture. And then it is always advisable to label your seeds. I know I am most guilty of not doing this, even though I say you should always do it. You get a little cocky as a gardener and you get to the point where you're like, no, I'll be able to tell what it is. But certain families of seeds generally look the same. Like there's a lot of brassicas that look the same, a lot of lettuces. So I popped the date on that. And now I'm going to try deal with this dahlia that I bought a while ago. Now I was actually there when these were delivered to the store and they were in flower at the time and they have these beautiful purple foliage and then a bright pink flower. But the guys who grew them were actually there and we discussed the whole, that's a nice root system. We discussed the whole fact that they do actually fertilize and force them to flower so that they look all beautiful when we buy them, and that's what, we're buying what we're expecting the finished result to be. However, I do also remember that he said these were grown from seed. Now, my understanding was that dahlias were grown from corms or bulbs, and then you could split them. I'm not sure if it's a different variety that grows from seed, or maybe it's possible for them to grow from both, but their maturity level depends on whether the tubers have actually developed. I have no idea. I suppose I could find a video on it. But this is so dry, and with all my others, at the end of the season, I just brought them in to the dry and was under the impression you could overwinter them that way. Unfortunately, though, the husband built the conservatory, and it isn't exactly watertight when there's heavy rains. And I know that excess moisture can cause them to rot. So I just want to see if there are actually any tubers in here that I can save, if they've rotted, or if there's no tubers at all, as I have very little understanding. But having had a good dig, there doesn't appear to be anything in here other than some roots. Um, so I am going to take the risk, as they might have been seeds, they might have dried out, who knows. But I'm going to pop all this soil back in this pot, give it a good water, and pop it in my greenhouse or the conservatory. Probably the conservatory, as it's slightly warmer, and then see what happens. I mean, if it doesn't grow, it's fine. I will give it a good few weeks though to see if there's any greenery coming back up, and I'm going to add some of the manure compost just to add an extra little bit of goodness on top. And then I am actually going to give this a seaweed feed. And then I have this one. Now, again, I brought this inside, so I know it is a bulb or a tuber or a corm of some sort, but right now it just looks like a pot of weeds and things. But I can see something growing in the middle. There's these thicker stems coming through. They've got more of a gelatinous feel to them than the grasses and stuff. So I'm just going to try pull as many of these grasses out as possible, these weeds, and remove them so that the others have space to grow. Now that I've removed the tops of these, although the root systems still are in there, without anything above the surface for the plant to be photosynthesizing for, etc., it should give whatever else is in there a chance to man up and take over the pot again. Okay, so it does look like I might have broken one or two off, but those are definitely not weeds in there. As I said, they could be anything. Now, the soil is quite depleted. Again, I will be doing the seaweed feed for everything, but I do just want to add some of this. It's not manure compost, it's actually mushroom compost on the top, but it is mixed with well-rotted manure, so I'll pop that on top. And then I'm using this liquid seaweed feed. It is extremely high in nitrogen, so the N is high, which is for growth, but the P and the K, so the flowering and the fruiting and everything, is a lot lower. Now, this is a 1.75 litre bottle, and I use the measurement just under actually for 1 litre, because when they're young like this, too strong a fertilization at this point will actually burn the roots. It's just too powerful for it. But it's 8:30 now. That was my last project. I do have to go and start getting ready for my appointment. So I will leave you guys here. But everything crossed that it's blue skies and sunshine when I get back, as I do need to give those blueberries some ericaceous compost. And I really do need to clean out bed 2 for things to start going in there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like, subscribe. Give us an idea that this is content you want to see from the Herbothecary. I know it's not my normal thing, but I will be back out foraging soon and showing you guys what to do with your finds. There is actually loads growing out there at the moment. I just need to get out there. Bye.